How many of you here think that there is something that's been holding you back? Something that you can't quite put your finger on. And if you just could figure it out, you could achieve greater success. How many of you here are willing to do whatever it takes to clear those things out of the way so that you can have the impact, the income, and the lifestyle that you've been dreaming about? Congratulations! You are in the right place. It's your lucky day. Because today we'll be exploring what the something could be. Get ready for a deep dive of discovery into the secret power of your story. The gifts that will allow you to see the silver lining of what might have been a challenge in life experience and share that wisdom as inspiration for others. We all have our personal stories of life-altering experiences that shape our lives. And then we have the stories we tell ourselves about them. The story I was telling myself almost killed me. Dear Toastmasters, my name is Katja Rusanen. The experience that I'm about to share led me to search for purpose and meaning and find my way out of the darkness. It led me to leave my career as a supervisor in one of the world's leading business banks and study 2 master's degrees in spiritual psychology and spiritual science. I worked as a coach in a multi-million-dollar coaching business that has been named as one of the Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies in America. In my own coaching business, I'm dedicated to helping entrepreneurs to discover the power of their personal stories. The story that I'm about to share with you now began when I was just 16 years old, living in a small village in Finland. I remember that spring. I felt butterflies in my belly when I fell in love for the first time. Do you still remember your first love? I was truly a sweet 16. All of a sudden, the sun was shining brighter, the birds were singing their sweet melodies, and I felt bubbling happiness when we were together. But my love story did not end with the happily ever after. It ended when I heard the news that my boyfriend had died by suicide. I felt like my heart was crushed into thousands of pieces. The pain that I felt was overwhelming. And the question why was like an open wound that would not stop bleeding. I was going through every single detail and every single word I could remember, over and over and over again, looking for explanations that I had not seen or signs that could help me to understand. But there were none. Yet I still felt that I should have saved him. I should have known. It was all my fault. If I had been more attractive, more attentive, more everything, he would have stayed. I simply wasn't enough. One morning I left the house and went to the riverbank. I wanted the river to wash away my pain. I felt that the future had lost all its meaning. I simply could not go on without him. The cold welcomed me as I took my first steps. As the water embraced my knees, I just wanted my suffering to end. But then in my mind, there was a flash of light. It reminded me of my parents and their love. I simply couldn't do this to them. I knew I had to turn back. The love of my family pulled me back. I chose life. That choice started my healing journey through grief, trauma, and darkness. My transformative journey from wounds into wisdom. What I realized was that our lives don't function very well when they are loaded with past hurts. We may attract people and situations that keep poking our wound, or experience self-sabotaging patterns, sleep problems, and lack of energy and depression. That was definitely my case. We all experience challenging moments at some point in our lives. Whereas it's healthy and natural to experience a spectrum of emotions, it can be unhealthy to let them drag you down for a long time. Over time, unresolved emotions like resentment, grief, anger, guilt, jealousy start affecting our body. If we keep carrying unresolved past hurts, they block us from experiencing the joys of life and our true potential. What I discovered on this journey is that there are 3 essential keys to healing your wounds and unleashing the secret power of your story. Now I'm excited to share them with you. The first key is to acknowledge your emotions. Sometimes when you want nothing more than to leave past hurts behind, they keep coming back. Yet you still keep hoping that one day you can just forget what happened and have a fresh start. At least that's what I used to hope years ago. I was desperate to forget my past. The worst part was that I kept going around in circles of hurt, grief, and self-blame. I wanted to sweep the emotional upset under a carpet and stomp over it. Unfortunately, that solution didn't last long. As the challenging emotions kept bouncing back like a beach ball. Just imagine for a moment that you are standing in a swimming pool. With one hand, you are holding a beach ball underwater. This beach ball represents the emotions that you've been avoiding or repressing. I'm just wondering, what might your beach ball be made of? As long as you can hold the ball underwater, it seems on the surface that life is good. but you are using a lot of energy to keep that beach ball underwater. And your actions in the pool are very limited. And as much as you would love to, you simply cannot keep the beach ball underwater forever. The harder you try to push it down, the more intensely it comes rocketing to the surface. When this happens, you can frantically try to shove the ball underwater again, or you can find ways to let the air out. You have a choice. When I realized this, I started to feel my feelings about my boyfriend's suicide instead of pushing them away. Because when you resist, persists. A real light bulb moment for me was one of the key spiritual psychology principles that my teachers, Drs. Ron and Mary Halnick, often shared during my studies at the University of Santa Monica. They said, how you relate to the issue is the issue, and how you relate to yourself while you're going through the issue is the issue. This principle can also be handy for navigating everyday events that we can't control, like the weather, traffic, and even our family and friends. But we can control how we relate to these things and what meaning we give to them. Here's a quick story that motivational speaker Tony Robbins has shared. He has invited some of his friends to his place in Fiji, which is a lush tropical paradise with sun and sand. However, it was raining. Tony wanted everything to be perfect. But he felt miserable because the weather didn't match what he perceived as the ideal situation. But when his friends arrived, they loved the warm rain and immediately started splashing around in it. They were having fun and they were completely happy, even if the weather wasn't postcard perfect. They had no expectations of perfect weather. They just knew they were having a good time with Tony. By attaching a negative meaning, Tony let his emotions run the show. He believed that he needed to create a certain kind of environment for his friends to be happy. His image of that ideal was sunshine. And even though he obviously knows that no one can control the weather, he felt frustrated until he worked through those emotions and found inner peace. As we have seen, acknowledging your emotions and working through them is the first key of transforming your wounds into wisdom and unleashing the secret power of your story. The second key is compassionate self-forgiveness. Oprah expresses it nicely. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. It's accepting the past for what it was and using this moment and this time to help yourself move forward. She discovered that definition after 25 years and more than 30,000 guests on Oprah show, when Dr. Cheryl Champolsky shared this powerful insight. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. She shares that it was a huge aha moment for her. It changed her life as it allowed her to overcome the hurt and pain caused by unresolved conflict with her mother. Oprah tells that being able to forgive her mother before she passed away gave her a deep sense of peace and freedom, which is an inspirational example for many others. When we feel that we got wounded in life, we often hold a perspective that things did not go the way that they should go. The dualistic thinking of right, wrong, good, bad kicks in. This generates even more hurt for us, as the world did not give us what we want, and we are dwelling on it. And that feels wrong, unfair, it hurts. I definitely had a long list of things like that. When we don't accept what is, we make judgments from this place of hurt feelings, which cause even more emotional suffering. This is why it's important for us to find a way to clear the judgments, because they can weigh you down and block your joy. My experience with accepting the past for what it was has been a long road of resistance, just to be honest with you. I was fighting against what was, fighting to keep that beach ball down. And well, that didn't really work for me. It wasn't until I discovered the incredibly powerful healing process of self-forgiveness that things began to change. It invited me to experiencing love and compassion for myself. I found the air hole in the beach ball, and I was able to start releasing those judgments slowly. One of the easiest ways to start discovering judgments is to pay attention when you use the word should. These shoulds can be about situations, yourself, others, the world, and so on. In the past, I was saying I should a lot. I should have known. I should have saved him. This should have not happened, and so on. My judgments kept my wound bleeding. And I completely believed that I didn't deserve to be loved, as I hadn't been able to save him. Compassionate self-forgiveness was such an effective tool for letting go of judgments. I discovered what I call my personal freedom formula for claiming and expanding our freedom from past hurts and limiting stories. If you have struggled with forgiveness, I hear you. I was definitely not good with it until this. I have a whole process around it, but the bottom line is to say, I forgive myself for judging myself, someone or something as whatever the judgment is. For example, I forgive myself for judging myself as unlovable. This powerful statement helped me to move forward with greater ease and bounce back to the joy of living, serving, and succeeding on purpose. Let's just test it out, shall we? Give it a go. Think of a judgment that you may carry against yourself. You don't need to share this with anyone. Don't worry. Got it? I'll go first. I forgive myself for judging myself as unlovable. Now, repeat after me and finish the sentence for yourself out loud or in your mind. I forgive myself for judging myself as... Well done! You took a step forward. Forgiveness is a process through which your wound will start healing. Sometimes we need to repeat things and gradually we gain more freedom. Now it's time for the third key, that is expression. For many years, my thoughts created a dark prison cell that made me feel stuck in the past. It wasn't until a palm reader asked me, "Why don't you write?" that I began to express my story after 15 years. It was scary. I had kept the pain locked inside for so many years. When I started writing that night, the negative thoughts that I wasn't lovable, I wasn't good enough, slowly began to transform. I began to gain an understanding of my life from an expanded perspective instead of only seeing the emotional pain. I began to see how integrating this experience was accelerating my spiritual growth and teaching me compassion and unconditional love. So the first level of expression was just for myself, as things slowly started to take on a new light. My way to express my inner world was through writing. What could it be for you? Writing, painting, singing, dancing. Take time to explore this for yourself. For example, the famous singer-songwriter Kelly Clarkson has said that she feels lucky to have the gift of music to help her process her emotions. She was just 6 years old when her parents divorced and she was abandoned by her father. This was a very traumatic experience for her, and their relationship has been almost non-existent ever since. Yet this experience was the inspiration for some of her most moving songs, including Because of You and the Piece by Piece that she has shared with the world. She decided to put those out, even though they are so personal. And she has shared that many people who have had similar experiences have come up to her saying, "You have no idea. I have never wanted to talk about it. I never have told anyone this." Later, I also felt called to speak about what I had experienced in the safe space of spiritual life coach training. And eventually, I found the courage to talk about my life experiences and the lessons I learned more openly so that I could help others. That was the calling inside of me that pushed me forward. And you know what? I also have had people who have resonated with my story and shared theirs. It's a powerful connection. When we express our unique life experiences and the lessons we have learned, we can serve others through our embodied wisdom. I discovered that it was possible to free myself from past hurts and limiting inner stories. It's possible for you too. To shift from feeling that life happened to us to feeling that life happens for us. We can then move from sharing our story in a safe environment to going out there and sharing it with others. And that's when you start tapping into the secret power of your story. That is the moment when you start feeling gratitude and have the courage to share the lessons you have learned. And these lessons that you have learned throughout your journey are the key to creating heartfelt and authentic connections. These are the connections that happen when you start to transform your wounds into wisdom. What could be one lesson that you have learned from your life experiences so far that you could share? Let's explore this. Take a couple of deep breaths in and out. And go back in time. Recall one struggle that you have overcome. What did you learn through that challenging experience? See if any life lessons are coming up for you. The answer might come straight away, or it might need a little time. Just know that all is okay. Got something? Great. Now I invite you to imagine how would it feel if you knew sharing your story could help someone who might be going through something similar. Imagine an opportunity to share your story and the lesson you learned and help that person on their path. And guess what? You will when you share it. And that's what I'd like to invite you to do. Let's set an intention that you will share one lesson you learned with someone during this week. Are you in? I'm with you. If you need any help, just reach out. I'm here for you. So today we explored 3 ways how you can start transforming your wounds into wisdom. We learned about the power of acknowledging your emotions so that you can stop wasting your energy on holding those beach balls underwater. Then we found an incredibly powerful way to claim our personal freedom through compassionate self-forgiveness. And then we discovered the healing power of expression. And this expression isn't just healing for you. Sharing your story can bring a spark of hope and inspiration for others. I wish that we would have more time to explore this further. Your journey to transforming your wounds into wisdom can start with these 3 keys. They are essential keys for you. Isn't it time to change that inner story and let go of those past hurts so that you can experience more peace, love, and joy? It's possible. Dear Arizona Toastmasters, thank you so much for having me today. My hope for you is that you will transform your wounds into wisdom. Your past does not need to equal your future, because we can overcome past hurts and limiting inner stories. You can be the star of your life and the hero of your story.